You remember that big ass globe, 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 globe? Was it called the Attack of the Glob? I don't remember. Reapers, what is good? It's your boy Laser. He has an advice for another scary action video. He's on the scary content. So you can do that. He's ranking the top 5 most terrifying monsters in literature. Guys, there's so many scary ass monsters out there who die straight and enjoy scary content. He's more scary with these features. Please let them. You subscribe to notification bell icon. I also stream every night on Twitch. Twitch is amazing. Let's go straight in this video.
Down and find out which horrifying entries are still left lurking beneath the bowels of the realms of literary monsters. Let's find out. Hello horror fans, what's going on? And once again, welcome back to the Scary Channel on YouTube, top 5 scary videos. As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch. Just today we curiously take a look at the top 5 most terrifying monsters in literature.
There we go.
Part 3. Roll the clip.
You good, buddy?
For the curious amongst you, that clip was from 2002's The Time Machine starring Guy Pearce, a modern cinematic retelling of the 1895 science fiction novella of the same name written by H.G. Wells. In it, it depicts a world far, far in the future where humanity has evolved into 2 very distinct species, the Morlocks and the Eloi. And yeah, whilst the Morlocks might be like 9 feet tall in that film and will frickin' blow dark bombs, in the novel they're an unnerving depiction of humanity's obsession with putting things in boxes, shall we say. Yeah, whilst a little dated, they're definitely deserving of an honourable mention on this list, but whatever. Let's begin, shall we? Kicking off at number 5, The Worms from The Troop. If you've ever heard of Nick Cutter, author of 2014's The Troop, you might be mistaken to know that he's actually another author named Craig Davidson. But nevertheless, under the nom de plume Nick Cutter, over the past few years, he's churned out some incredibly refreshing entries in the catalogue of modern horror literature. His first foray into that frightful world was with 2014's The Troop, a genuinely disgusting tale about a group of Boy Scouts out in a Canadian island that unwittingly find themselves in the...
I forgot Boy Scouts even existed. I was a Cub Scout when I was like fucking 10 years old. I don't know why. I remember when we used to sell fucking popcorn, bro. It was like caramel popcorn. It was like marshmallow popcorn. It was fucking... Oh my god, back in the day, that was the best thing ever. But now it's like that would make me gag. I can't eat sugar anymore. Fuck that.
Death grips of a bout of disgusting biological warfare. Now, whilst I'll try and keep spoilers to a minimum because The Troop is definitely worthy of a read and it's a genuinely gripping novel, it's going to be a little difficult when it comes to explaining the titular worms of this number 5 point. I mean, if you've seen part 2 of this list, you'll know that anything slug or worm based is pretty horrifying, but dude, the worms from The Troop, they're freaking disgusting. Written and directed by Nick Cutter, The Troop tells the tale of a scoutmaster and doctor, Tim Riggs, who takes his scout troop out to a remote Canadian island in Prince Edward Island for a wilderness retreat, when unbeknownst to them, a strange thin man comes knocking on the cabin door and he's harbouring a pretty disgusting secret. He's hungry, so hungry that anything he eats does nothing to sate his ravenous hunger. And why is that? Well, the thin man is infested by a grotesque host of parasitic worms that writhe inside his stomach, seeking to infest the next victim. I mean, if you guys have ever read the works of Chuck Palahniuk, Nick Cutter often gets compared to him, and in terms of genuinely visceral literary descriptions of a vile, ravenous, biohazard worm infestation...
Dude, parasite worms, oh man. This is exactly why I don't like eating sushi too much, or like any fish. I feel like if the more I do that, the higher chance I have of getting one of these.
It kind of doesn't get grosser than this. Also, the novel itself is just fantastically written, and the ending is something else entirely. It begins like an average run-of-the-mill viral pandemic horror and just completely goes somewhere else. It's great. Swinging in at number 4, The 𝐭𝐬 from the Edge Chronicles. I never thought I'd see the day, but I'm actually enthralled at the fact that I'm putting a monster from the Edge Chronicles on this list. Seriously, for anyone that had the absolute pleasure of stumbling upon this series as a kid, you'll know just how unique Paul Stewart and Chris Riddle's series actually were. And since their first novel, Beyond the Deep Woods, released back in 1998, I'm not sure whether there's been a series quite like it. That aside, in such a richly detailed world of bizarre creatures and species, the most undeniably terrifying of them all was the 𝐭𝐬. Now, the extent of this might be a little difficult to explain without context, but I'll try anyway.
This is how your exes be looking like. The curse of 𝐭𝐬. Look at those teeth, bro. Those teeth are whole ass crime. Sharp as fuck.
For For those of you that don't know, the Edge Chronicles is a series that spans several generations that details a fantasy world known as the Edge, a literal gigantic cliff edge bordered by an impossibly deep forest where a whole host of species survive and thrive. One of the most barren and bleak areas is a place known as the Edgelands, a desolate and dangerous place that just so happens to be the stomping grounds of the 𝐭𝐚𝐬𝐿, an ancient demon that had lingered long upon the edge and who ultimately orchestrated the demise of countless of its victims. In many ways, the 𝐿 is kind of similar to the Babadook in that he's a manifestation of something, perhaps a convergence of emotion, and for a children's novel, the extent of the 𝐿's perfectly crystallized fear was pretty damn staggering. The thing was actual nightmare fuel. The 𝐿 was a shapeshifter that could resemble any living creature, but its true form was a hideous creature with a warty, sneering face, framed by
that shirt goes too hard.
Two sinister horns and cloaked in a pitch black, formless robe. It couldn't harm anyone through physical means, but instead had perfected its power of lies and persuasion to just lead people to their deaths, make them step off the edge and then gone. That was its fuel, that was its purpose to exist. Now, maybe it was Chris Riddle's incredible and richly detailed illustrations, but yeah, in a book of adventure and hope, the 𝐿 quickly put an end to all of that. Next up at number 3, the Triffids, the Day of the Triffids. It's probably been high time since John Wyndham made his way to this list, but for the resolute amongst you, you knew it was going to only be a matter of time, didn't you? Now, for fans of Top 5 Scary videos, you'll know that we recently covered an awesomely underrated 2008 film, The Ruins, based upon the novel of the same name by Scott Smith, which just so happens to feature an absolutely terrifying species of ancient sentient plant life that have a habit of burrowing into human flesh. Well, before that, John Wyndham beat science fiction to the post and he gave us the Triffids. And for those of you that are so inclined,
comic art is crazy, man. I love comic art.
You may not look at a plant in the same way again. Nature is scary, and so it should be. The incomprehensible.
No, for real, like, you guys ever just be walking, bro, and then you get your pee-pee stuck in the thorn? Imagine scraping your pee-pee against a thorn, bro. Oh my god. And it goes in like the tip part of it. Oh my god. Ooh, you won't be nutting out white stuff. You'll be nutting out red strawberry jam.
Comprehensible power of an ecosystem should be something that we never look at without an ounce of respect or fear, because we pale in comparison to it. Well, Wyndham took that theme and he literally put it on 2 legs. Well, 3 legs actually, and gave it the sentient will to bring an end to all of mankind. Also, not like we should casually just gleam over it, but John Wyndham's 1951 novel is actually fantastic, and it stands out as one of the most refreshing yet utterly terrifying depictions of the end of the world. Written by John Wyndham and released back in 1951, The Day of the Triffids tells the tale of a man named Bill, an expert on a bizarre and new type of life form, the Triffids, a species of animal-like plants that feed on rotting meat and can move freely after uprooting themselves. They possess a deadly poisonous sting which features some pretty...
Look at the head of it. Oh.
hair-raising moments, and also seem to have the ability to communicate with each other. Worryingly so, they do, and although at the beginning of the novel civilization treats the Triffids like a type of farm animal, literally farming them for their precious oil, and luckily for pretty much every human on the planet, an unknown meteor shower just so happens to blind near enough every human on Earth, and suddenly these Triffid farms quickly become the downfall of all mankind. I won't say any more because The Day of the Triffids is a must-read for any fan of science fiction and horror, and the ending to this novel in particular says so much more about the horrors of mankind than it does about anything else. Coming in at number 2, Rawhead Rex from Rawhead Rex. Alright guys, I know we said in our previous part 2 of this list that we'll be featuring no Lovecraft, King or Barker, given the fact that we already have many specific top 5 lists for the...
I swear, every Goosebumps monster looked like this, bro, in a nutshell. You remember that big ass glob 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 glob? Was it called the Attack of the Glob? I don't remember.
Former and are planning a list for the latter, but we can just give a little bit of a snippet in this part 3 and talk about one of Barker's most genuinely terrifying literary creations, Rawhead Rex. Now, if you've seen the 1986 cinematic version of his short story, you'll understand why Rex kind of gets a bit of a bum deal when compared to other horrifying monstrosities. But if you take a look at the prose and look past the fact that essentially this monster is a giant 9-foot phallus with teeth and a ravenous maw, it is actually terrifying. Barker's intention with this creature was to encapsulate the primitive nature of mankind and give it a form. And given the fact that we actually see the terrifying actions of this creature through its own eyes, it says a hell of a lot about the human species. As the titular monster of the 1984 series of the same name, appearing in Clive Barker's books of
Imagine having your face crushed. Oh no.
blood, Rawhead Rex is an ancient, malevolent, carnivorous, and bloodthirsty beast that terrorizes the small English town of Zeal for time forgotten. It is
Looks like the fucking xenomorph. Is that what it's called? From the fucking Predator or whatever?
alluded to that Rawhead Rex, its true name unknown but often referred to as the King or Bloody Bones, was an ancient pagan demigod known for devouring children by the bucket load and violating and impregnating women, with its only fear being that of pregnant women, the literal antithesis to its primal function. I know Rawhead Rex sounds pretty tongue-in-cheek from the off, and perhaps that's why the 1986 movie pretty much missed the mark entirely, but forget about that, because Barker's actual prose is pretty damn terrifying, and it's almost like watching Jaws through the eyes of the great white shark. Yeah, stay tuned and we'll have a comprehensive Barker list for you, but for now, Rawhead Rex.
We're gonna forget the other Jaws existed. There's only one Jaws.
It'll have to do. And finally, coming in at number 1 spot, the Chandrian, the King-Killer Chronicles. Okay, alright, I do recognise that this particular series may be quickly becoming a Patrick Rothfuss fanfare, but whatever, I'm cool with that. Down to the fact that so many of you have been receptive of the recommendation, because come on guys, if you're not reading The Name of the Wind and then The Wise Man's Fear and then waiting for Book 3 like the rest of us, I'm not sure what you're doing with your life, alright? Okay, now that's out of the way, we have to talk about the literal definition of the fear of the unknown, a concept of horror that has a habit of being frighteningly effective.
Fear of the unknown. Walking in the dark, bro, and you see a fucking molesting clown. Peekaboo. Wait, why did I say peekaboo? Hong Kong, go hong. You know what I'm saying?
Now, this might be a personal thing, but I'm sure that many of you are on the same page as me. I'm not entirely sure if there's ever been a vessel of horror that has been alluded to so minutely, with such lack of information, that has been so impactful and nightmare-inducing as the potential terror of the Chandrian. Again, I'll try and do this without spoilers, because seriously, read the King-Killer Chronicles, but I've never believed that a group of potential demons could truly be as evil as the Chandrian. And I say that with the prior knowledge that we know next to nothing about them. And you know, I might be entirely wrong, because the true extent of them is yet to be revealed, and if so, I'll eat my words. For all we know, they might turn out to be the good guys, but, well...
Not the bad guys?
Put it this way. You see, Patrick Rothfuss, the author of the King-Killer Chronicles, seems to have an impeccable skill at demonstrating our basic human nature, even in a world of fantasy. The series itself is the art of storytelling, weaving myths and legends through an oral tradition, or music, or art, but then in that same fantasy setting, we get a small sample of reality. Because here, in this world, monsters do exist, as is so horrifyingly
I mean, shit, I'm one. I'm a monster. Don't leave your cookies in the jar. I'm Cookie Monster. Oh, so I'm turning blue. Well, technically, I already am blue. Kinda.
demonstrated at the opening of the series. Again, this really is difficult to do without spoilers, but put it this way. According to legend, the Chandrian are the most evil entities in the four corners of civilization. They have fallen into myth and legend by their own design, perhaps, and they are 7 of them: Cypher, Sturkus, Ferul, Usnia, Dalkenti, Alenta, and Alaxel. But they also have many other names, varying from culture to culture, where the stories differ depending on who you ask. And that's all we know. Well,
is that it?
Not entirely, but you should find out for yourself.
Don't mess with Texas.
Well, there are all the fans that list for the top.
Well, guys, this is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Which one's terrifying monsters from literature? I was not scared. You enjoy scary content. You don't scare your teachers and to do. What's the next one? Peace.
Extra large money.